Certainly, one of the things that made Inside Out one of Disney's biggest successes in history are the small details crafted by Pixar. And did you know that there are even more details and concepts thought out by Pixar in Riley and Her Emotions' second movie, Envy and Disgust? Anyone who watched the trailer noticed a small connection between disgust and envy. For instance, although they are different, both characters have their skins in shades of green, which already shows a point of convergence between them that goes much further than that in reality. Pixar cares a lot about appearance, but also the essence of characters is very important. For this reason, we can understand that disgust and envy also have other things in common, such as the fact that both characters are highly concerned with appearance, both their own and Riley's. For example, they are the only ones who wear accessories aside from their clothes, like Disgust wearing a scarf and a belt with the letter D for disgust. Envy also wears small clips that hold her hair as additional accessories. Moreover, these two emotions are the only ones wearing makeup, as seen by their matching rosy cheeks. So, it's clear there's a connection between the two emotions that goes beyond appearance. In fact, there's even a great chance of them becoming friends throughout the movie, as we'll also tell you in this video, along with several other things that you haven't noticed in Inside Out 2. Negative emotions. As we all know, the new emotions have their functions, and that's precisely why they were sent to Riley's mind headquarters. But, as we know, things won't go smoothly between the new and old emotions. For this reason, anxiety will banish joy and the other emotions indefinitely. The detail is, if you look closely, you'll notice that the characters who will remain there are all considered negative emotions. Both anxiety, envy, ennui, and embarrassment are feelings that essentially bring no positive points to the protagonist's life. But if we think about it, we'll also notice that the only emotion among the old ones that deviates from this rule is joy, since sadness, anger, fear, and disgust are also negative emotions. What's most interesting is that even though they're negative, all of them are important in Riley's life and bring positive things, such as anger during a hockey match, or like sadness does at the end of the first movie, showing that even anxiety and the new emotions can contribute to our protagonist's life. This indicates that all emotions must be together for everything to go right. Little envy. Taking advantage of our discussion about envy at the beginning, which will surely be a very important emotion in Riley's second movie, we all notice that she's an extremely tiny being, even smaller than anger. And, believe it or not, this is not by chance. The small stature and size of envy are due to the fact that, as we mentioned, she is a negative emotion. And unfortunately, there's a significant aspect linked to these emotions, which is the feeling of inferiority they can bring to someone who only possesses them, just like Riley's case, especially after the other emotions were banished. So, since envy makes everything belonging to others seem better, she automatically implies that everything the person has is smaller and less valuable than it actually is, as nothing is ever enough. That's why she's so small, besides the fact that envy, no matter how small, can still cause great damage. So, in reference to this dangerous yet adorable emotion, today we'll comment #mini. After all, she's a mini emotion if you look closely enough. Big embarrassment. And as we're talking about sizes, while envy stands out for her small size, we can say that embarrassment's highlight is exactly the opposite. He's huge! And we know very well that sadness noticed and liked it a lot. But the fact that embarrassment is so big is also not by chance. Embarrassment is that emotion responsible for making something very small seem much bigger than it actually is. For example, it amplifies something that person finds extremely embarrassing, but in reality, it's something so small that practically no one notices, which makes this emotion one of the most irrational feelings that exist. That's exactly why he's so big. After all, everything is just in our heads. Sadness returns. One of the scenes from Inside Out 2 shows Joy stuffing sadness into another mess. This time, she'll send the blue emotion completely alone back to Riley's mind headquarters through a memory tube. And all of this indicates that it's a plan for sadness to infiltrate among the new emotions and pass information to the old group. Moreover, this may be related to the closeness everyone noticed between the blue emotion and the big pink one, embarrassment. The fact that in some moments of the trailer we only see the other 4 old emotions further confirms this hypothesis, showing that indeed the group will need to split up at a certain moment. I don't know about you, but I'm very excited to see how this story between sadness and embarrassment will end. Anxiety and fear. Kinship. Returning to talk about the aesthetic part of the characters, surely you notice that the new emotion anxiety has a somewhat different appearance from the other emotions. We can say she's kind of exotic. And to be honest, in terms of appearance, the other emotion that aligns the most with this new head of Riley's mind headquarters, without a doubt, is fear. And if you look closely, you'd think the two would be somewhat like distant cousins. And surprisingly, this is not by chance either. mainly because Pixar's idea was to give the impression that emotions really have a relationship, since anxiety is, in a way, fear of the future. So it would be more or less as if the two emotions really had some kind of strange kinship. That's why it makes perfect sense that they are indeed the most exotic emotions in the movie, which is certainly very cool. Anxiety inspired by the original fear. In addition to having very close emotional origins, the two emotions have somewhat similar traits, such as the slightly rounded and slightly bulging eyes. And almost no one knows this, but there's a reason for it. Anxiety's design was slightly inspired by the old model of fear, created in the early sketches of Inside Out. When we look at the first character designs, we see that the purple emotion would be quite different, being much shorter, about the height of anxiety, and also he wouldn't have a nose, just like the new orange emotion. Moreover, we see that his small strand of hair was more forward and much more visible, just like anxiety's, unlike the final version where his hair is backward and almost invisible. Another point was that fear would originally be the main villain in the first movie, just like anxiety is the villain of the second. Anyway, there are so many similar points that it's even difficult to say that the character wasn't inspired by the first fear created for the initial version of Inside Out. In other words, Pixar reused a good idea. Now here's a great idea for you. Subscribe to our channel, that way you won't miss our upcoming videos. Friendship among emotions. Now let's talk about the possible friendship we'll see between the old and new emotions. And yes, we're talking in the plural because it seems there will be more than one new friendship. The first and most attention-grabbing is certainly the likely friendship between disgust and envy. As we mentioned at the beginning, the two have some undeniable commonalities. However, in the first trailer, we can notice that the tiny new emotion tries to touch Disgust's hair, but it doesn't happen. However, next, we see Disgust holding the little one, as if she had saved her from a fall or something like that, indicating that they might end up getting along over time. Moreover, it's more than proven by the scenes released by Pixar that sadness and embarrassment will become very close, if you know what I mean. Becoming, therefore, the second pair of emotions that will probably become friends, or maybe even more than that. And as unlikely as it may seem, believe it or not, there's also a chance that anxiety and joy will become much closer by the end of the movie. Something that supports this possibility is when in the trailer we hear Anxiety saying she's a big fan of Joy herself. Actually, this is probably true, but driven by her impulses and thinking she's really benefiting Riley, the orange emotion will end up banishing the old emotions, which doesn't mean they can't reconcile and make amends in the end, which is what I hope happens. Nostalgia. As we all know, the fifth new emotion is nostalgia, and many people don't know, but anxiety will have a necessary bond with this emotion, as we'll explain better now. One of the things we saw in the recent trailers for Inside Out 2 was a scene where anxiety breaks the memory transmitter. This will probably cause Riley to stop having memories of the good and bad memories she had in the past, and it really seems like anxiety believes she was doing something good. But at some point, she'll need those memories to help Riley. But how will she do that, since she broke the transmitter? It's at that moment that she has an idea, to call nostalgia. So it seems the orange emotion will try to make nostalgia make Riley remember things she believes are necessary. But right there, the old memories involving the emotions she herself banished may come to light, and she'll realize the mistake she made, and thus end up regretting it. And you can be sure I won't make the mistake of missing Inside Out 2. It seems anxiety is the dominant emotion in my mind right now, too. To control this emotion, I watch the videos here on the channel, and they help a lot. So if you want to control your anxiety, choose one of these two videos that are popping up for you now and watch with us.